Alright, so I just picked up this 2-ton Chinese mini excavator, and this is going to be the just kind of a first impressions video. I'm probably not going to run it. That you guys will have to wait for another video for that, because there is plenty of stuff to go over with this machine. Another thing I wanted to mention, I have no affiliation with the eBay seller. I have no affiliation with Typhon. I have no affiliation with the shipping company. This is a completely my thoughts on this machine. So I'm not being paid by anybody to make this video. This is just me doing this on my own and just kind of showing you guys the machine. So, you know, not being paid by anybody, no financial gain here other than through AdSense. So here it is, after about 6 weeks of waiting, it's finally here. So this is a Typhon on the back here. You can see Typhon there and there. Typhon, it's a Terror XVIII Prestige. So this is Typhon's nicest 2-ton excavator that they sell. As far as I know, it's the Prestige version. My plans for this machine are to put a mower out on the end and do long arm mowing. So creek banks, pond banks, trails, ditches, driveways, lanes, wet spots, parking lots, steep hillsides, and more. It's maintaining the difficult to reach areas and the edges of stuff. You know how, like your backyard, if you're over by a wood lot or something, it all kind of creeps in a little bit. But I'm only going to be able to do brush, weeds, and tall grass. So no forestry mulching or anything like that. You know, you kind of need in some spots you'll probably need a permit to do that, and it's just, as of right now, that's just not something I want to deal with. I will also put a link to this thing down in the description, and you guys can see what they're kind of going for. I paid $12,851 for this thing. It is, I think it's pretty decent. You know, for the money, I'm not going to complain much. You know, it has the cylinder here that you can turn the boom, has a hydraulic thumb, a pretty nice blade, no 2-speed, and no expandable tracks. That machine was about $4,000 more. So it was, I paid $12,030. My original bid was $12,020, and they upped it to, the counter offered me, and it went up to $12,030. And then there was $751 in sales tax. Shipping was $0. However, when the driver came here, I was thrilled that he got it here in one piece and undamaged, you know, no damage on it. And I tipped him $100, so I think he was real appreciative about that. So I guess we'll start up at the business end of things here. This has an 18-inch bucket. Looks pretty well made, pretty thick steel. I don't really see that as having any problems of bending. Maybe these edges here, if that's the biggest thing that could be a problem with that. It has the side cutters as well, you know, for clearing the edges of the ditch. And Persia's got to make an entrance, huh? Yeah, that's a stray that showed up here a couple years ago, actually. So they do offer a number of attachments with this thing. You can buy augers and rakes and a grapple, a quick attach. I will be buying a quick attach to put on this. They have I think it's a 200 millimeter bucket, so it's much narrower than this. And that's a trenching bucket, and then this one is kind of your grading and whatnot. I will be buying a 2-foot bucket as well for this, and I'll just have to adapt things here. No big deal. I've done it before, and I will do it again. So there are grease certs all over this thing. The cylinders are all repackable. You know, you just undo the end here on every single one of them. All of them are like that. You know, they're all rebuildable. That one I probably, yeah, no, you can see it. You can see the little cutouts. So that's all rebuildable. But from here out, I think they did a fantastic job of building this. You know, they have double gussets here, you know, double plated, which is good. I don't foresee any problems happening with this, or, I mean, unless you do something absolutely stupid with it. And of course, it would start raining as I'm trying to film this video. Now that it has quit raining, let's talk a little bit about hose management. So, they have these hoses are wrapped with, I guess it's like an anti-rub through stuff. I'm not sure exactly. I guess it's just hose wrap. So they wrapped almost all the hoses except for these two with the thumb. At some point I may take those off and put hose wrap on those. I have hose wrap in the shop. The hydraulic thumb looks to be pretty good. However, I do think these ends here are going to bend. So I will be either welding a piece of bar or something across here. I'm not sure. I may just plate that. And this thumb is long for this bucket. However, if I add the quick attach in, I think this is going to line up just perfectly. This machine does have the auxiliaries, of course, the auxiliary hydraulics. And to switch, they gave you another port here. So say you were running, they offer a hammer with this, an auger, a couple buckets, all sorts of attachments that you can put on this machine. And you just flip the lever on both sides, just with a wrench. That they also supply, there is a toolbox. I'll have to see if I can remember to mention that as well. But, you know, this is a nice feature. My old Bobcat 320, it never had a thumb, and that was one of my big complaints with it, is that it never had a thumb. It was plumbed for the auxiliaries, but there was no thumb on it from factory. This one has it from factory at no extra charge. So this is pretty good, other than the end. I'll probably do something there. There is no grease zert on here. This is the only cylinder that doesn't have it on both ends. I think they just made this out of thinner metal, and there wasn't enough of thickness there to put a grease zert on. I'd like to do that somehow, some way, put a fitting on that at some point. They do use bolts for some of this. The majority of this is all normal pins and stuff. These two are bolts, and then the cylinder at both ends, I believe, yeah, both ends are bolts there as well. I guess moving up, you know, the cylinders are all, you know, they're not leaking. There's really no problems with this that I've seen. They did have different grease zerts on here. I'll show you what those look like. These were the grease zerts that were on each end of the cylinder, and it's like a needle style grease zert. I don't really want to use those, so I just swapped all of them out for, you know, straight grease zerts here on every single cylinder. And those, in my opinion, at least here, are better. They're doing this so if you were to hit something, it doesn't get knocked off or broken. Yeah, I can understand that. I get that. I can see that. One more thing I wanted to mention here. This weird grease zert that this is like a mysterious grease zert I've seen on a lot of the forums. This grease zert is for this pin down here. So I put probably 20 to 30 pumps in here, and I don't know if it's just filling up this cavity in here, but it does grease this pin here. And there is a grease zert. Yeah, I can feel it. There is a grease zert underneath here. So, you know, again, you're just gonna have to do some things to this when you get it. There is a light here, and it is covered with a metal piece to protect it. This is an LED light. Those are all LEDs, and then there's two more lights up there as well. One of my complaints with my other machine is the cylinder was on the bottom, and there were numerous times when I was like, oh boy, we don't want to hit the cylinder or any of the hoses. So it's nice that they have this one on the top and not on the bottom where it could get damaged or hit, or you can kink a line or something. I mean, you could still do it up here, but you can at least see it here. I couldn't see it because of the boom that was in the way before. And my other machine, the old Bobcat 320, had all of the lines routed on the top, and that was also kind of a problem for hitting stuff and catching things. So Typhon mounted or routed all the hoses through the boom, and they just kind of come out of the top here. So I really like that. That is a fantastic touch. That is something that you would see on, Caterpillar or the really expensive name brands. So being that they have this on a machine that costs, call it 13 grand, that's really, I think that's really good. And there's nothing on the sides for it to get hung on and catch on and stuff like that. So this is I guess the pivot point for the boom. And this is all made out of really thick steel. It is about 5/8. It's about 5/8 of an inch thick. A touch more than a half. So I don't see that having any problems either. And again, there is a grease cert down in here. Right in there. Right there. And they did, when they built this, they had a hole punched through, and then they welded that all together. So this is a little bit weird to me. Why wouldn't you just weld that whole thing? But I guess if this thing were to break, you could just pull that out and re-weld it. Let's talk about the blade a little bit. So this blade did have a couple scratches in the paint whenever I got it, and I was just pulling off some of the powder coat, and then that happened. So the paint on this machine is not the greatest. The yellow I think is fine. However, the black I don't think is very good, and for a number of reasons. Because of this is all there was all rust underneath this, so I don't know how well the Chinese prepped the steel when they made this. But I do think the blade is well made, and you're not going to keep paint on the front of this thing anyways. That's just how it is. My Bobcat didn't have any paint on the front of this, and this one isn't either. Talking about the cylinder here. Now, my Bobcat had the chrome down on this end, and I did not like that. I was always worried about a big rock coming by and scratching the chrome. So being that they have this flipped around like it should be, that is a wonderful thing, and I don't have to worry as much about the chrome getting scratched on that cylinder. Now, you could probably source these cylinders elsewhere, and you can get them online, I would imagine, from, or I guess it'd be aftermarket. So, I mean, you can still get parts for this. You can still, hoses are real simple and all sorts of stuff. There's a plaque here. That's a Kubota diesel engine, and the operating weight of 1,800 kilograms, max digging depth. Everything here is in metric. So I guess this was made, oh wow, this was made last month. So it is about halfway through August right now, and this was made in July of 24. 2 more grease certs there. One, I guess, is for the other cylinder, the back end of this cylinder down in here that turns the boom. And then this one is for the carriage, I guess, or the turret, the house. There's all sorts of names for this. So when you guys grease this, I grease it in front of the blade. I might put 10 pumps in, and then you spin it 90, and then put another 10 pumps in, and then spin it again. So now the boom is over there. and put another 10 pumps in, and then over here put another 10 pumps in. So that greases the slew ring, I guess is what they would call that. That was just for the initial thing. This machine, as far as I could tell, did not come greased. There was no grease in it. So, you know, don't take it right off the truck and expect to, you know, just put it right to work. You're going to have to do a little bit of maintenance. And if you guys are planning on buying something like this, I would highly recommend that you have some mechanical knowledge of things. I do plan on building a mower for this, so I mean, I can build stuff and try to make it work. So just know that you're not going to take this to a dealership to get it fixed. You are going to be, yourself are going to be in charge of fixing it, or you'll have to pay somebody to fix it. There's not much of a warranty. I think it was either 1 or 2 years, but I'm not real interested in warranties and stuff. As long as nothing major goes wrong, I can pretty much fix everything else on this thing. So this is, again, from here out, I think they did a fantastic job on building this. Now, for the cab. In my opinion, I think this cab was an afterthought for this machine. And here's why. So the door is good. I don't have any complaints there. And it does open actually a little more than 180 degrees. It has actual glass in it. You know, that's real glass. And it has a handle here and a latch. The latch does lock, which is nice, of course. So whenever I say that the cab, I think, was an afterthought, so hopefully you guys can see the gap in here. You know, there's a big gap there, and there's some gaps on the other side as well. And here's where you fuel up. This is where you fuel, and the door flips the wrong way. So in my opinion, and I mean, I guess you could like stick a filler nozzle through the window there. I guess you could do that. But it's not real. It's kind of awkward. It's a little awkward filling this thing. And the fuel tank in it is only like 1.5 gallons. So being a nearly zero tail swing model, that's what you have to, you know, your quantities of stuff are smaller because there's just not enough of room to have all that stuff in there. Moving on to the tracks, I don't have any complaints with these. You know, I kind of wish this machine was 2-speed, but again, for what I paid for it, I'm not going to complain. It does have the little window there, or the hole on the side there, that you just undo 2 bolts, and then this does use a bolt to tension the tracks, which is something that I really like, just because it's a couple less seals to change the track. So say you have this machine for 20 years. This is going to be an extreme case. Say you have this thing for 20 years and you replace the track once every 10 years. Well, chances are you're going to have that seal rebuilt to tension that. Well, having a bolt in here like this machine has, it's just unthreaded and thread it back in. Yeah, you're going to have some rust, but you know, that's kind of true too. One more thing about the blade, it does have edge protection and curl protection. This is a boxed blade, so there's a box, you know, it's thick, and that's obviously not solid, but it's I don't see that breaking. I don't see having any problems with that. So getting back to the cab here, you know, we have like random hinges in somewhere. You know, like what are those for? Does this whole thing open up? Because to open that up, you would have to pull the cab off, and that's not really something I want to have to do, of course. Operator presence lever, joystick controls. This is for the thumb. It might go down. Yeah. So that's for this foot pedal here is for the thumb. This is the left track drive, and this is the right track drive. This is for the blade. Now, another thing that makes me think that this cab was an afterthought on this machine is the handle hits the window, and it doesn't go in back, but it doesn't hit anything going back, but it hits it. They almost, the blade one does not. The right track hits the window. However, once you open up the valve, you don't have to go the whole way. Like, you don't have to press the lever the whole way. It's when it's open, it's open. This is the floor mat here, and there's an access panel. This one here is for the engine, and this one here is more of the middle of the machine. This is the battery tray, and again, with the cab being on here, you can't open up the battery tray. So, or I guess the battery box. I am going to put a disconnect on this thing. The negative post of the battery is right here. So I'm actually going to drill a hole through here and put a battery disconnect on this thing. They all kind of have it from factory, and I think this one should as well. It does have a windshield wiper. That thing does work. The glass here will slide down. You just press these little buttons on the side, one there and one there, and then this whole piece of glass will slide down, which is kind of nice. I really like that. There was a rotating beacon. There's one up top already, and this one was just kind of stuck to the side down here. So that's it's there. It's wired for it. And hopping into the machine. So this is what you would look. This is what you would see out from the front of the machine. The windows open, and they do latch. You can just open and close them. One there, and then there's also one here. And this whole thing here, this is all actually an entire single pane of glass that they have like glued these things to. I'm not sure how exactly they make this, but they end up just making them that way. So, but this whole sheet is all glass. Again, this is where you fill it up. So this is the hydraulic tank, and that is the fuel tank. And then further down in here, if I can get my phone in here, there is a screen for the hydraulics in case if you have a catastrophic failure, the rest of the metal flake doesn't go through the rest of the machine. And I am not sure how you would get to that. And again, this is what I mean whenever I say I think this cab was I think this thing was an afterthought. How am I supposed to get that screen out? There's a piece of metal in the way, and that door is flipped backwards. Just little things like this that make this machine not super desirable, but I went from nothing, having nothing, to a 20-some-year-old, probably pushing 25-year-old excavator, and now I have something that's brand new, but it's not 100%, but it is new, and it doesn't leak. That's what amazes me the most. Already mentioned the wiper, and down here we do have, or I guess up here, we do have a air conditioning unit, and it does blow air. I don't know how cold it'll get. I haven't ran it for super long, but these things here always remind me of, I feel like I'm in an airplane in this thing. You can turn those. This is what a airplane has. No leaks in the cab. We had a tremendous rainstorm yesterday, and it was hailing. I'm like, man, I get this thing for the first day that I have it, and it's already in a hailstorm. So this switch here is for the boom light, so the light on the boom. And then these switches here, this one I believe is for the lights on the top of the cab, and then this one is for the beacon. Here is the heater in this thing, all written in Chinese, and it does actually blow hot air. I mean, you flip this switch here, and you can hear the engine bog. So, you know, electric heat, you know, there's a coil down inside here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, you can sort of see it in there. So electric heat and electric air conditioning. So the alternator on this thing does get used a lot. Armrests are pretty nice, and they are adjustable. This machine does have excavator controls. So this is curl and dump, and then this is boom up and boom down. Got a visitor. And then this machine, or this joystick here, is stick out and stick in, and then this is spin left and spin right. So you can, of course, you know, being an excavator, you can spin. Moving on to the LCD display. This is engine temp, and this is fuel, so how much fuel you have. I believe this is glow plugs, battery, I guess that's any warning signs, and I'm not real sure what this one is. I haven't quite figured that out yet. There is a seat belt as well, and again, you know, look, see the gap on the side here. So I'm gonna have to seal this up somehow. I'm not sure how I'll do that, but you know, just something to note. And obviously the key. You only really have to glow plug this thing for like 5 seconds and then fire it right up. My old Bobcat, you had to do like 10, 15, 20 seconds and on the glow plugs to get it to fire. So 5 seconds is great. So this is the switch for the air conditioning, and this is a switch for the heat, which is kind of weird. Like these would be opposite. You know, air conditioning, you'd think it'd be cold, and heat you would think would be hot, of course. Well, let me rephrase that. Blue would be air conditioning, red would be heat, but it's flipped. So this is air conditioning because you are hot, and then this is heat because you are cold. They did a decent, you know, everything, all the wiring and stuff is in split loom, and there is a little cover up in here as well to make things look a little better. And there is a light as well up top, just to, you can turn that on and off, and it is very bright, very bright. I also see a QR code on this thing. I should put that into my phone and see what it is. This display is all in the metric system. This is basically an entirely metric excavator. So everything is in metric and metric units, etc., etc. One thing I wish is that this machine had a handle here to get off. There is one on the side right here, but nothing right here. I guess you could reach outside and hold on there. So let's talk about the seat here a little bit. The headrest is adjustable, and the backrest can be folded down with a lever on the side here. Yeah, that one right there. And then this whole thing will tip up as well. You can just pick this up, and then you can access more of the inside of the excavator. I'll give you a quick look inside of there. And you are literally sitting on top of that engine. That is a Kubota D722. Liquid cooled. There is also a fan up top there, and it oscillates as well. There's a glass breaker. There's a glass breaker, and then there is a fire extinguisher in here. I'm probably going to put my own in after seeing Andrew Camerata's video. Here's what the back of the machine looks like. I kind of wish that they would have used 3 pieces of glass for the back of this thing, just because getting a piece of glass bent just perfect would probably not be very easy. And let's we'll open up the door here, but here are the drives. This is kind of another complaint about complaint that I have. Those hoses are all exposed, and so are the drive motors. I will say though, the drive motors on this thing are absolutely enormous. They are massive, like compared to my hand, like those things are huge. And it's, you know, this is really thick steel. That's as thick as my finger, and that's probably at least 1/2 inch. And this is pushing 3/4. So I don't really think we're gonna have any problems with the drive motors on this. I think they're gonna be, I think they'll be all right. It does have a large counterweight, and I don't really have any complaints about that. The paint, again, is not real great on the black. You can see some rust sort of starting, so I'm not sure what I'll do about that. Here are the keys. These 2 keys here are to lock and unlock this door. So that is locked, and this is unlocked. So the pointed keys are for the door, and then these ones here, those 2 keys are for the ignition, and you get a double set, you know, 1 for each. And then these keys here, this is for the fuel, that with that notch in the middle, and then this one and this one are for the back door. So let's go look at that now. So you just stick this in and turn it. The door rubs, and you have to lift up to close it and push right in the middle. So this is just how my machine is, but so be it. I'm not complaining. So let's dive into the engine here. Counterweight is pretty thick, however it does get much thinner on this side here. There's some fuses. There is the alternator with the engine further in the back there. This is the overflow tank for the radiator. This is the fuel filter. This is the water separator. And when you guys get this machine, get it off the trailer, and before you do anything else, you will have to fill it up. They give you just enough of fuel. When I got this thing and opened up the back door, this was about empty. There was hardly anything in there. So there is also there's 2 fuel filters, one here and one here. The engine oil is further down, which is right there. That's going to be a little difficult to get to, but it is what it is. The oil dipstick is right here, and you can pull that out to check the oil. I did have to add probably at least a quart of oil to it, because it was in between, halfway in between full and empty. So I filled it up to full. We're on the top half now. I believe this is a return line, maybe a pressure line, but it does have a oil cooler and a radiator, obviously, for the engine. So that's kind of things back here. Here's the air filter. So like your main daily checkpoints: fuel water separator, fuel filters, air filter, and the oil dipstick are all in pretty easy spots. However, the fuel filter, that one, or the oil filter, that one's a little bit further down. But you know, that's a characteristic of a zero tail swing machine. You know, that's just kind of the way things are. So that alternator does, I foresee that going out in the future, just because there's some pretty high amperage draws on this between a heater in the winter time, which if you're sitting on top of the engine, you're going to get a lot of heat baking off of that. So I doubt you would use the heater in this very much, but that air conditioner you would use a lot. And there is like a compressor or something up there as well. There's no compressor down on the engine running off of the belt, you know, like your car would have. I don't know a whole lot about these, but this is like an RV air conditioner. And again, you got to pick that up to close it. Now, this is what I mean why I don't care for this, the way that this is, these keys. So here's a normal screwdriver, and there. I just latched the door with the screwdriver. So I will end up probably changing that or figuring out another way to lock this door just so nobody messes with it. Let's go underneath the machine. So there's not a whole lot of room, and they do have a bunch of plates of steel welded onto the bottom of this thing, which is a little on the weird side. That is the engine drain. Moving on around to this side, you know, again, there's your window with a couple pieces of glass. It's nice they give you lifting hooks if you have to take the cab off, which I foresee having to do in the event of needing to replace a component or something. I'm not real thrilled about that, but you know, again, this thing is brand new. Here are the drive sprockets with just a cotter key and a bolt. Really simple. Some people would like that, some people wouldn't. Personally, I think that is fine. It's a very simple setup. 3 rollers at the bottom with the idler up front and tensioned by the bolt, like I said earlier. So this is one thing which is good and or bad. That is the hydraulic swivel for this machine, and there's probably 15 hydraulic lines that go into that. And I know that because I had to rebuild the one on my Bobcat 320, and that was a learning experience. I learned a lot doing that. So being that this is open, I'm not sure exactly how. I'm not really going to like that, but it is easy to access if you have a problem. You know, my Bobcat, I was crawled underneath this thing. I had it on tracks. I had it up on blocks, and I was, you know, crunched in there trying to work on this, and it was an awful experience. So I guess being on the side, you can kind of get to them a little easier. I did have to clean the glass and stuff. This thing was a little on the dirtier side than I cared for whenever I got it. Clean the glass, and I'll probably clean and maybe wax it as well. I'm going to try to keep this thing nice. It's probably not going to happen, but it is what it is. I am going to take the stickers off. I don't really want someone, you know, the customer kind of knowing what kind of a machine I have here, because to the average person that doesn't know a whole lot about these types of, I guess, pieces of equipment, I could make this thing look like a Caterpillar if I took the arrow off and this lettering and just made it look like it's just like a Caterpillar machine. So that's kind of my plans on that. The muffler, I forgot to mention this, the muffler is wrapped in heat shield, so I guess that'll try to help with you getting too hot in there. Here is the sight glass for the hydraulic oil, and it's about right where it should be. And they say to use N46, so I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's all, if that's the same AW46 as, you know, an American one, because again, this is all Chinese stuff. And I did put 1030 diesel oil in it. That's what the manual recommends, and that's what I plan on running in this machine, just because it's new. Once we get a couple thousand hours on it, I will probably end up putting, you know, the 1540, you know, Shell Rotella T4, 5, or 6 in it. But, you know, again, what's nice with this thing is you don't have to use the Caterpillar oil or the John Deere oil or the Kubota oil or, you know, whatever the, you know, insert name brand manufacturer, and then you don't have to use their oil. This machine is truly mine now. I can run what I want in it. And I mean, I'm not going to go run, you know, the really cheap oil, but you know, I am going to put decent stuff in it that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for. So that's my plans on that, on at least the maintenance side. But you know, for the money that I spent on this thing, you know, I'm really not complaining. There's just, you know, there's give and takes with everything, and I think with something like this, when you buy something like this, these have gotten really popular in the last couple of years. So just to put into perspective how much more I paid for my Bobcat, I paid $11,200 for my Bobcat 320, which was way overpriced. That thing shouldn't have been more than $7,000 or less. I paid nearly double for it. This was kind of the height of COVID. And they're still fetching a lot more money than what I paid for this. So, do you want a used, clapped out machine that's going to need all sorts of hoses? I replaced 30, I think it was 30 hydraulic lines on that Bobcat. 30, and had that swivel that I mentioned that runs the blade and the track. I had that rebuilt. That was like $333 right there in a couple days worth of my time. And it was just, stay away from an old Bobcat. And maybe that thing was, you know, really wore out or something. But for $1,500 more, $1,500 more, I have a brand new machine with 0 hours. And everything is tight. I'm not used to having something that is so tight and so brand new. It's just not something that I am used to. And just to put into perspective, that's my 1986 F350 dually diesel dump, and that's my 96 F150. So having this brand new excavator is a real treat for me, and I only spent $1,500 more than the Bobcat, and it's brand new with 0 hours. Whenever I got the Bobcat, the teeth on it, you know, they're supposed to be pointed, they were like a stub. You know, that machine had done a lot of work in its day, and she was pretty tired. So there you go. There's my video on the brand new Typhon Terror XV III mini excavator. All in all, again, I am just happy to have something brand new, and you know, it has the Kubota D722 diesel engine in it. The 2-ton machines are, in my opinion, more of, how do I want to say this? They are almost like a true excavator. Not that the 1-tons aren't. The 1-tons have the controls up front where you are actually pressing the valve open and close. And the joystick ones, like what I have, they are like the machine does it for you. The machine presses that. So this is a much more comfortable machine to use, and a much more user-friendly. And it weighs, I think it's like 4,400 pounds. So it's going to be giving the old, the blue F-150 over there, going to be giving that old truck right there a heck of a workout. I'm asking a lot of it, which is why I am planning on using it, towing it behind this truck. This truck is far superior to tow this thing around. One more thing to note, this machine came on a semi, so they may end up putting, you may have to go pick this up, or it may come from a hotshot driver or something. I'm not real sure exactly how they'll ship yours if you guys are interested in buying something like this. But this one came on a fully loaded, well, it was fully loaded, but it came on a semi with like a 53-foot trailer, a sleeper, and everything. So you guys need a huge driveway to have something like this delivered. This is not something that, you know, that the UPS or FedEx or anything like that is going to deliver. This is a full-on semi or a hotshot driver. So just so you guys know that you know, you need a big driveway, and we have an enormous driveway here. And for him to get out, we had to hold traffic for him so he could back out again and go back into town. And he was from Ohio, and he was heading back to Ohio, and then I think down to Tennessee. So that he had a lot of driving left to do. So I was very pleased with the driver. Everything here was very professional, and literally as I was filming this video, the clip before this one, the shipping department was calling me or texting me just asking how everything went. And you know, it's little things like that that I really like. You know, they have a sense of professionalism here. I also want to mention why I ended up buying this specific machine. And just to put into perspective how cheap I got this, how much of a good deal I got, the Caterpillar 302, which is probably what I'll buy the stickers for and put on this thing. But the Caterpillar 302 is about $80,000, around $80,000, probably $60,000 to $80,000 for that machine. Cab heat air, stick steer, you know, the whole 9 yards, every feature that it has. And even if you got the low end one, it's still probably $60,000 to $80,000. And I do not want to spend that much. I don't want to have the financial burden of that machine. And then if you finance that thing, my understanding is you have to have insurance on it as well in case something were to happen to it. On this thing, you know, I don't want to say I'm going to get insurance, probably put on it eventually, but you know, there's nothing as of right now. And like a Kubota one could be probably $40,000. You know, I got this thing for a quarter to an eighth, roughly, the price of a name brand one. And for that price, I will tolerate, you know, the little, you know, shortcomings, I guess, with the cab. You know, the little things that I don't think are 110% or aren't entirely thought the whole way through. But, you know, for the price, I'm not complaining. I am very happy with this machine. And you know what? It sure beats a shovel. Here's the tools. High-grade tools box. I don't think there's anything underneath this sticker. We'll worry about that later. So, you know, this is a nice little addition. Comes with a bag of grease. I've never seen grease come in a bag before, but that's a first. All written in Chinese. And then there is a manual for the Kubota D722 right there for the engine that's in it. So that's kind of nice. And then a mystery box. This has some sort of an electrical component in it. Oh no, never mind. This is a filter. This is a hydraulic screen filter for the hydraulic tank that I think I have to pull the cab to put that in. Kind of a bummer there. This was the electrical component. I don't know what this is. Kind of a controller, DC 12 volt controller. NGK spark plug. Co Ltd. Alright, well, at least it's Japanese, made in Japan. Some clips, I have no idea what those would be for. Maybe for the lights or something. Comes with a cute little grease gun. Look how cute that thing is. There's a few other odds and ends. These are for hydraulic hoses to separate them. You put the hydraulic hoses through, and then they go just like that. You know, to keep them from rubbing. Comes with an adjustable wrench. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 open end wrenches, the grease gun end, an Allen key. This part here is to grease those grease certs there, and a couple zip ties, and that's pretty much it. I probably will not use the toolbox here very much. I have all my own tools. However, for someone that doesn't have any of these tools, there's a nice addition.